And now we will begin the testimony this morning. We would like to welcome Representative Steckloff to testify for her own experiences in using this type of therapy in dealing with her own cancer. Welcome to the committee, Representative.
Thank you, Chair Rendon, for inviting me. This is one of the most important bills we have before us. It's been introduced many times, and it's never gotten to this point. In 2015, at the age of 31, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had a very aggressive type of breast cancer. I went through a radical double mastectomy. I went through surgeries to try and preserve my fertility, and I was on chemotherapy for about 1.5 years. That IV chemo that I was on for 1.5 years was awful. I would pass out in the stairwells at work, not once, not twice, not even 3 times. Having my student assistants find me in stairwells, freaking out and calling 911. I ended up in the hospital multiple times for 3 weeks at a time. At one point, I had to learn how to walk. At 31 years old, single, I was no longer dependent on myself. My parents were the only reason I got through this. But let me tell you what it's like to go through IV chemo. It's not pretty. It's exhausting. It's terrifying. And it makes you feel so bad that I understand why some people would choose to go into hospice before going through chemo again. You lose your nails, you lose your hair, you lose a lot more that I don't want to say because this is a testimony at the House of Representatives. What they don't tell you is when you go through IV chemo, what it's like to go to the doctors almost every day. It's not just that you're getting chemo. You're getting poked, you're getting prodded, you run out of veins. I've had to have my blood drawn out of my foot, between my toes, my neck, my thigh. And then I was offered a life-changing opportunity. There was an oral chemo that was finally downgraded, and it was affordable. I took it. I could go to work full-time. I felt great. I'm here. I'm still on this chemo. I have my hair. I no longer look sick, and I no longer have to worry about finding a vein somewhere on my body, going into test after test after test. IV chemo is a completely different situation than oral chemo. I'm in a young adult support group, and I can tell you the horrendous stories of my friends just not even knowing what to do and go through bankruptcy. This is the choice people have to make in order to live and live a quality life. And because IV chemo is not a quality life. It's anything but. I have never been so sick in my life, where some days I didn't even want to get out of bed. I contemplated getting off of it, and even thought about death myself, because that's how painful it is. And I share my story with you personally because I want you to see the difference of what someone going through that type of drug and what someone going through an oral chemo does. This is a life-changing bill. Not only does it save lives, it makes your quality of life so much better. And I just urge each and every one of you to please vote yes on this. You will never know how much it's going to help the people of Michigan. And I know it's helped me personally. And I thank you so much for being here.
Representative, thank you for your heartfelt testimony. You certainly look well today. And it looks like you have a good prognosis. You mentioned the fact that you had to be hospitalized several times and during the treatment that you endured. Were you able to work at all during that time, or were you employed?
I was employed. Unfortunately, with the job I had, I was not eligible for short-term disability. I was only eligible for long-term disability, and a lot of people do not understand. If you got to go for long-term disability, you have to work 200 days without pay, or you have to leave for 200 days without pay before you're eligible. Being a single person myself, that was impossible. So I went to work every day, not knowing what was going to happen. And when you're going through IV chemo, I had mine on Thursdays. I would go on Thursday, 8 hours of infusions. I had to go in the next day for a shot called Neulasta because of my aggressive chemo in order to keep my white blood cells and my immune system. I was sick all weekend, and then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday were always a gamble. But now, you've seen me every day. I feel great, and it's so nice to look in the mirror without feeling sick. But I probably spent about 100 days in the hospital while I was going through IV chemo for 1.5 years.
And I have one more question for you. When did you begin the oral chemotherapy?
Yep, I started in 2016. And it's just life-changing.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony today.
Thank you
We
so
really
much.
appreciate you being here.